The book of Nahum, chapter 3, last chapter. Woe to the bloody city! It is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. The noise of a whip, and the noise of the rattling of the wheels, and of the prancing horses, and of the jumping chariots. The horseman lifteth up both the bright sword and the glittering spear, and there is a multitude of slain, and a great number of carcasses, and there is none end of their corpses. They stumble upon their corpses. Because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts that selleth nations, through her whoredoms and families, through her witchcrafts. Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will shew the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame. And I will cast abominable filth upon thee, and make thee vile, and will set thee as a gazing stock. And it shall come to pass that all they that look upon thee shall flee from thee, and say, Nineveh is laid waste. Who will bemoan her? Whence shall I seek comforters for thee? Art thou better than Populus? No, that was situate among the rivers, that had the waters round about it, whose rampart was the sea, and her wall was from the sea. I think this is a place called No. It says, art thou better than the populous? No. N-O. That's my nickname. That's crazy. Ethiopia and Egypt were her strength, and it was infinite. Put and Lubim were thy helpers. So we have put. It's foot or put. Right here. So that's the son of Ham. Ethiopian foot. Over here you got Canaan and Egypt. But that's foot, put right there. Ethiopia and Egypt were her strength, and it was infinite. Put and Lubim were thy helpers. Let's see. Lubim. That sounds familiar, but I don't see it. It's not on this map. I mean, genealogy. Yet was she carried away, she went into captivity, her young children also were dashed in pieces at the top of all the streets. And they cast lots for her honorable men, and all her great men were bound in chains. Thou also shalt be drunken, thou shalt be hid, thou also shalt seek strength because of the enemy. All thy strongholds shall be like fig trees with the first ripe figs. If they be shaken, they shall even fall into the mouth of the eater. Behold, thy people in the midst of thee are women. The gates of thy land shall be set wide open unto thine enemies. The fire shall devour thy bars. Draw thee waters for the siege. Fortify thy strongholds. Go into clay and tread the mortar. Make strong the bricklin. There shall the fire devour thee. There shall the fire devour thee. The sword shall cut thee off. It shall eat thee up like the cankerworm. Here's another type of worm. There's been lots of worms mentioned in these last. We got one in Jonah. God prepared a worm, but in the gourd, right? And then we got another type of worm in Amos, the palmer worm that eat the fig trees and olive trees. So it's type of pestilence. We hear here about the cankerworm. Make thyself many as the locusts. I wonder what cankerworms eat. I'll have to look that up. Okay. Thou hast multiplied thy merchants above the stars of heaven. The cankerworm spoileth and fleeth away. Thy crowned are as the locusts, and the captains as the great grasshoppers, which camp in the hedges in the cold day. But when the sun ariseth, they flee away, and their place is not known where they are. Thy shepherds slumber, O king of Assyria. Thy nobles shall dwell in the dust. Thy people is scattered upon the mountains, and no man gathereth them. There is no healing of thy bruise. Thy wound is grievous. All that hear the bruit of thee. Oh, that's funny. They use that word. So when you assess a port where they do kidney cleaning, you know, when they transfuse blood, because if people are in kidney failure, they have to create a port, and you listen to it with your stethoscope, and you can just touch it, and you can feel. It's called a trill or a thrill. You feel the thrill. I think it's called a trill, but you also can hear the bruit if you put your stethoscope on top of that port. You can hear what's called a bruit. And I've never heard that word used other than that, except here it is right here. And it's something you hear. There is no healing of thy bruise. Thy wound is grievous. All that hear the bruit of thee shall clap the hands over thee. For upon whom hath not thy wickedness passed continually? That's the end. But what an interesting thing to say. There is no healing of thy bruise. Thy wound is grievous. All that hear the bruit of thee shall clap the hands over thee. That is really strange. That word. Because it's like a word like rattlings, right? It's a word like it's like a buzzing. It's like a whooshing sound, right? It's a whooshing sound. Is that what they mean by bruit? This is very interesting because it says this word. It's usually it's like these people are opening their mouth. They're saying this. These people are saying this. You're saying this. But this is like a whole step further, right? Because it's not anybody literally speaking. Okay, there is no healing of thy bruise. Thy wound is grievous. All that hear the bruit of thee. So there's no more speaking. There's only some type of noise coming from the person. That's really strange. I'm gonna look this up. Like everything else,